Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Hello, my name is Yechiel Mintz. I attend the Lakewood Cheer. My background: when I left my Lakewood type yeshiva, I also felt Daf Yomi was not for me, as I needed to learn Be'ion. Well, day after day, due to lack of time, that did not happen. In 1990, I received a complimentary ticket to Madison Square Garden to attend the Sima Shas. Pretty much tied to the Daf all these years. I've been learning the Daf for about 33 years now. I'm on my 5th cycle. I can say for sure the past 18 years I've never missed a line of Gemara. Okay, what's my secret? Always stay ahead, never fall behind. Take a Gemara every single place you go throughout the day, wherever you travel, every doctor visit, everywhere. I really like your excuses people give not to do the Daf. They all sound 100% valid, but are really invalid. By the way, he has another excuse. Some people like me thought that everyone who learns the Daf loves to learn. So if I don't like to learn, I don't need to do the Daf. But I know it's not true. It's also not an excuse. I want to tell you, many people in Lakewood audience did understand the Biden joke. But the boisterous ones overpowered the quieter ones that did get it. Lakewood has changed a lot since you were born there. There are many businessmen, professionals make it their home. I know, I get it. I do the Daf daily with the art scroll, but I'm a chazir and do the Daf car listening to your shir driving to work. Keep inserting the humor into the Daf. It really helps with people to understand the importance of Talmud Torah, but need to keep engaged in different ways. Thank you so much. Yechiel Mintz. Shimon Braun sent in this picture, spotted in Borough Park in Geman, doing the Daf while waiting in line to take a Hasidic haircut. It's all Yura belly, git yantif. It's geschmack to do the Daf. And this I got from Donnie Fine. Until I started learning Daf Yomi with Rebbe Eli, I never finished Sphere with a bracha. This is Baruch Hashem, my 3rd year in a row where I will, Eretz Hashem, finish the Omer with a bracha. And this Rabbi Isai, no? Sorry, so I got it from somebody else. Sorry, apologize. I was trying to give you credit. Credit wasn't due. Huh? What was the guy's name? Avi Nusefi? Nefusi. Avi Nefusi is the one who walks from Gimel once a year. He comes to this year. He listens every single day, but has only been to a live share twice. Once every year on Shavuos when he walks in. Shalom Aleichem, what's your name again? Shimon Lefkowitz from? Brooklyn, New York. You were there in the share in Brooklyn?
No, I had a wedding that night.
Ube Michael.
I do it because Elio Pinkus.
Who?
That is Elio Pinkus.
Avada, the Balamaisa?
I was on the plane, I was watching Moshe Banda.
Yeah.
And I heard the story.
And he was there?
He was sitting on my neck.
No way.
And I showed it to him.
And did he say that was a true story? Did
He
he?
said, absolutely, said he was going to kill you.
He said he's going to kill me. I didn't say his name. I just said Reb Pinkus' son. You hear this? I said the mice with Reb Pinkus' son. When did you go off the derech? And Rabbi Lefkowitz is sitting right next to the. I'm not going to say his name. Rabbi Pinkus, and he says it's a Maisa Shahaya. Like all my Maisa Shahaya, you have to find people that witnessed it. Yisrael Besser, right? That's his name? From Mishpacha magazine. He wrote over here a line. I want to read it to you real quickly. It's 2023, and we're seeing the wonders of Shimon foretold, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, not just in Yeshiva and Kailim, which always were and still are the safety deposit boxes of the fire of Har Sinai, but in the weary, jaded eyes of accountants, school administrators, restaurant mashgichim, Amazon sellers, and yes, even rabbeim, eyes that have suddenly become bright again. There's a revolution happening. During the past decade or so, Rabbi Eli Stefansky discovered thousands of people who hadn't found the sheer chavrusa format that worked for them, who looked longingly at the chassan shots gathering dust on their shelf and wondered if it was even possible to have a relationship. Ask them any one of them, of any background and dress, and you will see the answer even before they speak. They are alive, driven, and euphoric. Now listen to this line. This is the line. Rebelli has no listeners or followers. He has ambassadors. Each one of them exploding with gratitude at the gift they receive each day. Shkoyach, Rabbi Yisrael Besser. You're an ambassador. You are not my ambassador. You do your own thing. You're another person's ambassador. We're not going to go there. Dear Rav Eli, we were listening to Shir on Gittin, and they had a pshat over there. But I like this part. His name is Carlos and Zaki Dabas from Brooklyn, New York, Avenue O. Friends of Jacob Ayal. Now listen to this. Below is a picture at 7 p.m. before the start of your Sion in Borough Park We sat second row center. Love it. He got there an hour earlier to get the second row, not the first, because the first is always too close. Go second and center. The Koilel, sponsored by Nanas from Lakewood. The Masech is sponsored by Moshe Banda to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank Him for everything that I have. Yesterday was sponsored by Shamshi Shlafrak. What was the lashon? For all.
For his never-ending kindness.
Thank Hashem for His never-ending kindness. The partners of the month. Lila Nishmas Chaya Bas Yosef. Another partners of the month. Lila Nishmas Zechrya Ben Moshe. The partners Hayoim. I'm going to make a macha. Because I don't know that I have to read everything, every shtus that's put in here. But I'm making a macha. I'm going to read it, making a macha. In honor of Harav Hagon, Rav Eli's commitment to traveling the world to spread torah. The first words are not necessary, taken from Shas Yidin Shtusim. Art of the month for complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi Ben Leah. Rabbi Isai, if you weren't here yesterday, a lot of us were here just about 7 hours ago. Rabbi Schoenberg himself was here, and 20 people were here, all the way till about 12 a.m., a little bit after. So Yishkoyach for all of those who were there. 3 shiurim within 7-8 hours. Givaldik. We're holding 8 lines down on Amud Beis Amud Aleph. We're discussing if it's a schos, if it's an advantage, a disadvantage, a negative, a pro, a con, to be freed or to get a divorce. So if a husband or a master gives a get to his wife through a shliach, he says, here, give this to my wife. So that's a shliach lahilacha. He goes to give it to her. Could that shliach, or the master gives a get shichrur for a slave, could that shliach be zoich in the get shichrur, the get isha, for the eved? Is it a schus or not? So the Mishnah says, Shem Yirtzeh Shalei Lazun. At the end of the day, if the master doesn't want to feed his slave, he could do so. He doesn't have to feed him. But he cannot stop feeding his wife. He has to give her support. So therefore, it's a disadvantage for the woman. It's an advantage for the slave. He can be free. He has no disadvantage because anyway, what are you going to say? By him being free, he gained his freedom, but he lost support. He could lose the support as a slave also. The master doesn't have to support him. Says the Gemara, Shamas mino yochel harav loimer le'eved asei imi ve'eni zonach. So I just want to show you these terms. Let's become familiar with these terms. These are new terms for the sugya, terms that we haven't had yet, and they're very, very simple. And with the Gemara, come in, Shalom Aleichem guest. The Gemara is going to go back and forth with these terms. So it's kedai. What's going on over there? You see that we're online? We're good? It's just that screen is not good? Okay. The first term that we have to know, and this is the whole entire sugya, is the first line. Asei imi ve'eni zonach. Can a master tell a slave, I want you to work hard, work all day in the field. I'm not going to give you 1 iota of food, nothing, 0. You figure it out yourself. Can a master do that? We're going to go, that's the whole sugya. We're going to go back and forth. Could a master tell a slave, work for me and work hard? I'm not going to give you any food. How in the world is he supposed to live? He's supposed to knock on doors. When he's done his work at 9 o'clock at night, then he starts going shnar from door to door. Okay? That's halacha number 1. There was a shnar, call him shnar, a collector. Shnar is not such a nice word. Guy came to collect money in America, and he was fundraising in America. And the guy opens up the door, and the guy starts berating him. He says, "What's wrong with you? Get a job. Stay in your country. Why do you keep coming here? Why do you keep knocking on my door? Back and forth, the whole spiel." And finally, at the end, he opens up his wallet and gives him $100. And then he says to the guy, I don't understand something. I'm yelling at you, screaming at you, I'm embarrassing you. And you just stood quietly, you listened, you took it. What's going on? What happened? He says, I'll tell you, the truth is here. You see this list? This is the list of all the people, drivers that we should go. It says over here, Mr. Bronsdorfer yells for 3 minutes, then gives $100. So I was ready, and what's the Musa Haskell? I believe it's a tremendous Musa Haskell, this Maisa. Is that if we know that all the bushas and bizyonis that we get in this world is l'tzarech, it's for the right thing. So you get the busha, you take it like a man, you take it. Because you know that at the end of it, this is what's going to happen. If on the other hand, we don't come prepared, so everything, we get rattled up. He yelled at me, he embarrassed me, this. But no, if you know that the yelling and the screaming is all good, at the end you're going to get paid well, then you'll be quiet, you'll take it, you'll be geschmack, no?
Yeah. In that case, I have a few things I have to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead, go. Listen, my bizyon is every day. You weren't here last night. Mistakes in the Gemara, straight out. Bushas, v'charpes. Okay, so that's number one. Let's go back. First thing we have to remember is the sugya of asay imi ve'eni zoncha. I want you to work for me. I'm not going to give you any money. The antidote to that is, perhaps from all the rayas that the Gemara brings, the Gemara says, well, not all, but some of them. Maybe it's talking about a situation where the master said, not that I'm not going to feed you. You make your own money, and all the profits from your whatever you do, with that you buy food. The fact that I'm not feeding you is not a raya that I can tell you to work for me. Maybe you work for yourself, and all profits go to your pocket. Then we have another idea called loy sapka, that he works for himself, but it's not enough. He needs the extra support. That for a woman, for a slave, maybe for that he could go back to the master. And then there's the opposite, hadafa. Hadafa means that it takes about $10 a day to feed a slave. The slave earns $12. Who gets the extra $2? The master gets the extra $2. Okay, these are the musagim. And we're going to go back and forth with these musagim, not to be confused. Says the Gemara, Shmas Mina. We hear from our Mishnah, because it says before in the Mishnah that the master could just stop supporting the slave whenever he feels like it. And therefore, the fact that the slave becomes free is not a disadvantage, because he could have that disadvantage regardless if he's free or not. The master could just at any given time say, I don't want to support you. Shamas mina, yachal rav lo yimer le'eved, asei imi ve'eni zonach. Zoncha. Okay, so that's the headline of the sugya. You see from the Mishnah that the master could tell him, I want you to work full time and I'm not giving you any food. Why? Why could he do something like that? Because a slave, we could view a slave as no different than a cow. A cow doesn't have a right to say, hey, support me. I want you to give me milk, do whatever I want, and I don't want to feed you. You die, whatever. It's not, you're just my belonging. That's how you could view it. Says Gemara, no, not a good raya. I don't have a raya that the master could say something like that. Perhaps what's going on here is in our Mishnah also, that the master tells him, go out and work, and whatever you earn, you buy your food with. Says the Gemara, very good. But then, in our Mishnah, we have a slave and we have a wife. So it has to be one for one. They both have to be equal. The kavasa gabi isha. So then you have to say that the exact same thing would be by a wife. We know that the husband is entitled to the wife's earnings. We said shalom bayis, the whole thing, went through the whole sugya. But he's definitely mechuyev to support her. It says in the Ksuba, Va'atehe Yaspa bebeisi umitzina menachasai. I am going to support you. There's no way out of this. You have to support your wife. So, what is he saying? He's going to say the same thing that he tells his slave, he's going to tell his wife. You go work, you keep your own earnings, and buy your own food. So, Isha Mailoi. So at the end of the day, so why can't you be zoicha in the get isha for the wife? What is she losing? The whole reason why you can't acquire the get for the wife because you're saying it's a disadvantage for the wife because she's losing her support. She already lost her support. We're talking about a situation where the husband told her, go earn your own money, go earn your own food. He's not even supporting her. So the fact that she gets divorced is not a loss for her. Says the Gemara, Isha b'lo sapka, because we're talking about a case where the wife doesn't earn enough to support herself. Says the Gemara, Nami b'lo sapik. You're saying it's 1 for 1. The wife and the Eved have to be the same exact situation. And just like the wife, you're telling me it's a story where, first of all, he told her, go earn your own money and take that money and buy your own food. But it's not enough for her to be supported, so he has to add a little bit more from his own. And therefore, you can't divorce her without her will. You can't be a shliach l'Kabbalah without her telling you to be a shliach l'Kabbalah because it's a disadvantage for her. She's losing that a little extra. So too, you have to say the same thing by a slave. It's talking about a situation where he can't earn enough. Says the Gemara, that's impossible. Why? Because avda the nahaim crazy loishavya, if he's not even worth the bread that goes into the stomach. What did just Bali Chesed? They picked up a slave for what? To feed him? He doesn't even earn the $10 that it cost to support him. Why do they need him? Let him go free. So obviously you can't say that the slave can't earn as much as he's working. That's impossible. That's not a slave. By a wife you could say that. Toshma. I don't know if I even should say this. We all know this person, but he's a very, very good friend of mine and Mendy's. And I was in his house. I said this, Maisa. And I wanted to plug in the light. I was giving shear. I was going to plug in the light into the outlet. He says, ah! He starts screaming. I said, what? He calls his Aram. The guy comes like Mario. Plugged it in. And I managed to Chab. I still I was there. No Chab. What happened? By them, the minig is you don't do it. Yeah, you call Abraham, he does it. He comes home from shul. He has a whole breakfast spread, sliced the vegetables, the egg, the whole thing, everything. It's the first time I understood what it means. It's in a different country, not here. Abraham, you cannot plug a thing in. It's like the union in New York. You're not allowed to plug it in. They have to plug it in. Okay. Says the Gemara.
Good old days.
Yosef is sleeping now, so you can say whatever you want. Seriously, Yosef was up at 4:30. No, that was Yoshi. Yoshi was up at 4:30. Yosef was somewhere around there. What time? 4:10. The shear came out. He had to do 2 shurim, and he wanted to do the second shear before the first shear because the second shear was Daf Yud and the first shear was Daf Yud Aleph. So he had to wait until the second shear was over in order to start. Okay. Yishkoyach Rabbi Yosef. Is there a tissue around here somewhere? Says the Gemara. Things are not going well. See, you don't have the Siyat Shmaya. Okay. Toshma. Again, what's the question? We're going back to this question. I say, can I tell my slave work? And I'm not going to give you food. You figure it out yourself. Toshma evet shegola lori miklot ein rabbi chayv lezoynoi. Ori miklot. Here you go. Beautiful. There's a whole chart here. There's the 6 official Ori miklot. You can see exactly where they are. 2, 4, 6. They line up beautifully throughout Eretz Yisrael. If somebody kills someone b'shoigeg by mistake, he has to go to Ori miklot. Otherwise, the relatives could kill him. So a slave killed somebody. By the way, we're talking, obviously, I didn't think we have to say this, but there's 2 different types of slaves. We're talking about an Evet Knani over here. The whole sugi is an Evet Knani. A Jewish slave has completely different halachas. It's not, you don't own him like a shar. There's no shaila that you have to feed him, etc., etc. There's also halachas, by the way, at the end of the day, as much as the Gemara sounds, really tough, and we have halachas, how you treat your even your Evet Knani. Yeah, you should feed him the same food as you. You give him your pillow. Or maybe the pillow is by Yisrael. Okay. Back upon him, every fine. Back upon him, there are halachas of hanaga, there's certain ways that you but the halacha la halacha. Okay? What can you do? Evet shegola miklot. he can no longer work. He had to run away to the Ir Miklat. Ein Rabbi Chayo Lezoyna. The master doesn't have to feed him. Ooh, this is Mamash Raya. I say, you have to work. All the earnings that you make go to the master, and the master doesn't have to give you any food at all. You see over here that he could say so. Work, and I'm not going to support you. So go right back to this antidote. No raya. Maybe he told him, you work, and with your earnings, you'll support yourself. If so, if he told him that you take your own earnings and buy food with it, so why should the master get any of the money? He needs the money to buy food. Says Gemara, he doesn't need all of the money. He only needs $10 a day. The guy made $20 a day. So the extra $10 goes to the master. Says the Gemara, well, if we're talking about extra money, it's his slave. Of course, anything extra goes to the master. Says Gemara, beautiful. On a day that he doesn't find work, the master doesn't have to support him because he made a deal with him. You work and you support yourself. So what if he has a slow day? He didn't earn enough. So when he makes extra, he made $20 instead of $10. Maybe take the extra $10, put it in an account for where he has a weekday, and then use that money on a weekday. That makes a lot of sense, no? I made a deal with you. You work, and with the money, buy food. So what, every single day I'm going to make a cheshbon? Says the Gemara, yeah. Every single day, we have to see how much money you earn. If you earn more money than your food, it goes to the master. Tomorrow, you earned less than the food, and you're going to be in a deficit, and you're going to have to go collect. Go collect. But today, you have extra money, give it to the master. Komashmal goes to the master. Says the Gemara, Umayshna Lari Miklat. Now, why are we talking about Ir Miklat? We're talking about a whole story. If he told his slave, Asay imi ve'eni zancha, I want you to work for me, I'm not going to support you. What? Hold on a second. No, if he told him the story, Asay imi ve'eni zancha, and he went to the Ir Miklat, Mayshna Lari Miklat. So just because he went to our miklat, so that's why the hadafa should be for the slave. Says Gemara like this, right? So what difference does it make that he went to the Ir Miklat? Why should it make any difference to the extra money that he earns? So the Gemara says because the pasuk of the shoygeg, the guy that kills b'shoygeg, look what it says, and the last word is what we want, but it says Lo Neshama Ritzach. The Ir Miklat is for people that kill. He killed his friend Bivli Das without knowing. He doesn't hate him. So maybe v'chai means he should live it up, give him a little bit more than usual. It's a special word, v'chai. Doesn't say just support. V'chai, he should live well. Kamash Malon, no, he doesn't get the extra hadafa. But later on in the Brisa it says another story. A woman, a wife, who had to go to the Ir Miklat because she killed somebody, the husband has to support her. So obviously he didn't tell her, he didn't say, go support yourself, because the Omar law, because if he did say, your earnings should go towards your food, I'm not going to take your earnings, then why is he chayav to support her? And since by a wife he didn't say it, so obviously by a slave also he didn't tell him, right? They go one for one. Whatever happens by the wife happens by the slave. And by the wife we just proved that he didn't tell her, support yourself. So by a slave he also didn't tell him to support himself. Says Gemara, he did tell him. In both cases he told him. But his wife, we're talking about that she didn't earn enough money to support herself. She earned 90%, and therefore he has to support her for the extra amount. Says the Gemara, and by a slave we said that doesn't happen, because if you have a slave that doesn't earn as much as he's worth, let him go. Later on it says that if he told her, go earn your own money and buy your own food, that's okay. So you can't say that he did tell her and he did tell his slave, because at the end of the Bryce it's talking about such a case. So the beginning of Bryce is not talking about a case where you told him to do your own food. Says Gemara, this is what the Sefer means to say. If she earns enough and he says, go buy your own food, then it's okay. Says Gemara, maspekes my lemeimra. What's the chiddush? Now let me ask you a question. Let's say a woman has a great job. She's a lawyer. She makes a lot of money. Could the husband tell her, I want you to be a cleaning lady. Go wash the stairs in the different buildings that we have here. Is it permitted? She earns a lot of money. Says the Gemara, yes, that goof is the chiddush. Mal the same a kol kvuda bas melech pnima. This pasuk, by the way, I believe, I don't know for sure, this is either the most hated pasuk by a Beis Yaakov girl or the most beloved. It's a pasuk that they hear hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe dozens of times a day. What does it mean? That since Jewish women are princesses, they belong in the house. A princess doesn't go out and mingle with people and work and clean staircases. They're supposed to be in the house. She's a princess. Pass her to be inside. Kamash Malon, that the husband can tell her, no, I don't care about this pasuk. You go. You're right. You're in the Ir Miklot, and you don't have your clients that you usually have, and you don't earn the way you usually earn. That you could be home, work from home. You know what? Too bad. Go out and earn your own money. Go out in the street and do whatever you need to do to earn money. Fine. There's a famous mice. I'll say it again. There was a girl in Austria who had a very, very nice voice, and so she was in a Friedman family, but people asked her, you have such a great voice, why don't you sing for women? Her father was not happy about it. So her father brought her to the Kapitchense Rebbe. And the Rebbe told her, listen, you're right, halachically, you're probably allowed to sing in front of the women, but I'm telling you that if you don't do this and you stay tznius, whatever, I promise you're going to have a son that's going to be the light of Klal Yisrael. And who is the son? Rav Osner. I don't know the Maisa. Says the Gemara, maybe it's machlokes tanoi. Special situation. We're talking about famine. There's no food anywhere, so a slave could tell his master, "Oy parnaseini." You have two options: either you give me food, or let me free. So if we just look at it right now, what's the opposite of parnaseini? You have two options. Either feed me, or if you were writing the Gemara, what would you write? What's the opposite of feed me? Free me? There's another option in between. What? Work for food. Either feed me or allow me to work. You don't have to free me, but allow me to work for my own food. But that's not what it says there. The Eved could say one or two things. Either give me food or let me free. And Chacham saying, no, starve. I don't care. I'm not feeding you. So maybe this is good for the machlokes. The Mar Savar Chacham hold yochal. He could say aseimi v'eni zoncha. Umar Savar eni yochal. And Reb Shimon Gamliel says, you don't have the option to tell your slave starve. Either you feed him or you let him free. Says Gemara v'tizbera, but is that so? Hay oy parnaseini oy tzieni lecherus. I just made a chart for it in case you want to see. Parnaseini. What's the opposite of parnaseini? Hoy tzieni lecherus in our Gemara. No, what it should be in the dark blue. Parnaseini or tzei maisi yodechalim zenisecha. That's what. Oy tzieni lecherus. Oy parnaseini yoteni maisi yodai beparnasasim yibayalei. The opposite of giving parnas is what we were talking about until now. The antidote to work, and I'm not going to give you anything, is work for yourself and buy your own food. Void. If a master tells a slave, isn't that famine? You don't need famine in the world. He has a personal famine. His master just told him, work all day long and I'm not giving you any food. That's famine. So why do you have to come onto a situation of famine? He told him, go work and earn your own food. And because we're talking about famine, so as much as he works, he's not earning enough to support himself. So that's why it says cheiros, free me, because we're talking about shnei batzaris, it's famine. And because of famine, it makes sense that he's not earning enough. But the point is, says Reb Shimon Gamliel, that if he was a slave, it's famine, things are very tight for everybody. Nobody wants to give tzedakah to a slave. Yes, you're right, he's chayiv and mitzvahs like a woman, blah, 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 and it's a mitzvah. But it's difficult to give tzedakah. If I'm going to give tzedakah, I'm going to give to the guy that looks really Jewish, not to half a Jew. So, people are rachmanas on me. Yeah, the famous Maisa, the guy goes, he's trying to collect money. He sees that the guy in shul is doing much better than him. He listens, he hears, the guy says, tzedakah, tzedakah, I'm a ger tzedek, I'm a ger, tzedakah, tzedakah. So he decides, oh, it's a good idea. He goes around, he tells everybody, I'm a ger, and things are picking up, it's very nice. The next day he sees the guy's making much more than him. So what? The guy says, I'm the Enikol Baal Shem Tov. Oh, people are giving in Geshmak. So this Chacham Batata, he starts going, he goes, I'm a Ger Tzedek, the Enikol of Baal Shem Tov, I'm a Ger Tzedek. Fine. So this Nebuch, yeah, he's a Eved, I don't know what he is. He's a half a Ger. They don't want to give him. Says Reb Shimon Gamliel, you have to let him free. Dr. Gemara, I just thought, it's a Maisa, I don't know, it can't be a true story. There's a Maisa Shkamat about Reb Chaim Kanievsky. A guy came to him, he says, listen, I need a Yeshua. Rebbe, I need a Yeshua. So Reb Chaim said, naturally, give to Kupat Ha'ir. So he says, but Rebbe, I don't have any money, I don't have a dime. So Reb Chaim looked at him, you don't have money? How'd you get in here? Maisa Shkamat. Yeah. What? Okay, I'm saying if you ever went to what you mamish like it. Okay. Rabban Savri Mandim Rachem Avichori Evanami Ruchum Mirachem. Says Rabban, no, you're gonna give a regular yid, you're gonna give this Eved. I never had the opportunity to see one of these, but they're very Jewish in a way. The mamish like women, the chayiv and all mitzvahs of a woman, they can't do any averis. They're Jewish. Toshma. Again, we're trying to figure out if a master could tell his slave, I say imi v'eni zoncha. I want you to work to the bone and I'm not going to give you any food. Sounds mamish cruel. So we have a dilemma over here. A person says, I want to give my slave's hands to Hegdish. So now what happens? Everything the slave does with his hands become Kaddish to the Beis HaMikdash. Major problem. How in the world is this slave going to eat? He's no longer the master. The master gave him up to Hegdish. Here, the hands of my Eved are to Hegdish. He can't eat from Hegdish. Why? Because you can't eat food from Hegdish. Hegdish doesn't have the right to give its own slaves food from its own, its Hegdish. So he's going to go earn money and buy food. That also doesn't work. Why? Because every money he earns goes immediately to Beis HaMikdash. So we have a problem. Catch 22. What does he do? So the answer is that he works. At the end of the day, we're going to see, he works, and every small part that he earns right before it becomes a pruta becomes his. That's not Hegdish. Because Hegdish only works on a pruta. And that's how, so he borrows money. The Gemara says he has to borrow money. Now he owes money to Ruvain. So every time he earns a little bit less than a pruta, it becomes Ruvain's before the Beis HaMikdash has a chance to grab it. Says the Gemara, he borrows money and he eats, and then he works and he pays it back. because everything that he earns goes to the Beis Hamikdash, and he doesn't have to pay him, he doesn't have to give him any food. We're talking about a slave that has no food. So again, the slave is working all day long for the Beis Hamikdash, and he doesn't have food. Why doesn't he have food? Doesn't the master have to give him food? The answer is no, the master doesn't have to give him food. So he's working, he's not getting food. It's a raya that asay imi v'eni zanach. Says Gemara, perhaps, I don't have a raya. Maybe the master gave him food. So what's the obvious question? If he gave him food, why does he have to borrow money to eat? What does that mean? Because let's say a human being could survive on 800 calories. So the master gives him 800 calories. The slave is going to be starving all day long. What do they eat in the concentration camps? A couple 100 grams of bread and then potato soup. So you could survive on 800, but it's very, very painful. The slave doesn't want to survive on 800. He wants to eat at least 2,000 calories. So for the extra 1,200 calories, he borrows money and he pays it back. Says Gemara, so it was sponsored by Friedman Family for our sisters, נחama Leah, Bas Reb Pנחas, Yibadul Chaim, Reb Pנחas Eliעזר, and Chana Etel, Bas Yibadul Chaim, Pנחas Eliעזer. So until now, when you're under the master, you ate 800 calories, and that was enough for you. You survived. Now they became Hegdish property. What? Now you need 2,000 calories. Says Gemara, Hegdish Gufei, Hegdish loves this, that he's eating 2,000 calories, because now they have a nice Gishmak, a slave that works better. So the Gemara says, we already discussed this. How could he work and pay it back? Every time he earns $100, it goes straight to the Hegdish. Says Gemara, he makes some sort of deal where every less than a pruta that he earns goes immediately to the lender. Because Rav says, Rav says, listen to this, we have to remember this Rav, because we're going to have a contradiction. Rav says, if you make your slave's hands hegdish, that slave, he works and he eats, and he says, the Eloi Avda man polachle. If he won't work, who's going to feed him? Who's going to work for him? But we have a contradiction in Rav, right? Over here, Rav says, Oisav Oichel. And what does he say over here? What? Domer Rav, Amagdish de Yavdoi, 2 lines from the bottom. Oisa yo eved loiva v'oichel v'oisa upereya. He works, he gives everything to Hegdish, and he works and he pays back. Over here, it doesn't say that he pays back, that he does it. All he does is he works for himself and he eats. It doesn't say that he has to borrow money and pay it back. So just balpeh, what's the Gemara's answer? The Gemara is going to say like this. If you say that Rav holds that you cannot tell a slave, asay mi v'ani zancha. You can't. And that's what Rav holds. You can't tell a slave, asay mi v'ani zancha. Rabbi Yochanan holds you could, Rav says you can't. That's the end of the sugya. Not yet, but that's what we're going to get at the end. So Rav holds you can't do that. So in the Reisha, it's talking about that the master gives the slave food. So he gives him food. His hands could become hegdish. Because he fed him well, he's feeding him. Mimela, I can make his hands hegdish. And the slave is not happy with the 800 calories. So that's why Rav says, let him borrow money, let him pay back. But the seifa is the fact that he didn't give him food. And he has to give him food. He didn't give him food. So if he didn't give him food, then his hands do not become hegdish. If his hands don't become hegdish, so he works for himself and does whatever he wants. That makes a lot of sense if you hold that you cannot say, asay mi v'ani zancha. I cannot tell my slave to work. So let's see inside. So we have a contradiction between Rav. On the one hand, Rav says he should borrow money and pay it back. And on the other hand, he says, don't borrow, don't worry about it. Just work and take the money and pay for your food, even though the master said your hands are hegdish. Says Gemara, it's talking about that he gives him food because he cannot say, you can't tell a slave to work and then worry about your own food. You have to provide food. So in Mela, the first Bryce is talking about where he gave him food, and therefore what? His hands become hegdish. And the extra he works for and he pays it off. The second Bryce where it says that just work and pay for your own food is talking about where he never gave him food. So if he didn't give him food, his hands don't become hegdish. Shapir, that makes a lot of sense. But if you say that according to Rav, a person could tell a slave, go five, go work all day long, and I'm not going to give you any food. Now that is a problem. How do we understand the seifa? So the reisha b'sheinim malav yachal. He didn't give him food, but he could say it so anyway. Well, what's going on here? Who's going to help him? Who cares who's going to help him? That's not our concern. I'm allowed to tell my slave, go work, and I'm not going to give you food. Why does Rav stick in? Who's going to help him? According to Rav, you see from here that a master cannot tell a slave, I'm not going to provide you food if you work for me. You must provide food if he works for you, and therefore there's no contradiction between the Reish and the Seifa. Toshma. Now we have Rabbi Yochanan that says the opposite. If a person chops off his friend's slave's hand, so let me just show you real quickly. Here's a slave. And you did whatever. It's not so accurate, this picture. But basically, you destroyed his arm. So what happens if you destroy your friend's slave's arm? So there's 5 things that we learn throughout Shas that you mechuyev to give somebody that you damage his body. Nezek is the permanent damages. You have to give him permanent. You chop off a guy's arm, now he can't work anymore in construction, so you have to give him $1 million. Tsar, all the pain, the pain you have to give. Ripoy is all the medical expenses, all the doctor bills and the surgeries and everything you have to pay. Sheves is lost income. So we're talking about ripoy and sheves, medical expenses, and all the lost income, says Rashi, even somebody that just lost his arm and he's in a lot of pain, you could put him on a field of kishuyim, of cucumbers, and let him sit there and watch the field. How much does he earn a day? $10 a day. So pay him $200 for that loss. Boishas we're not discussing. The bottom one, why? Because we're not so sure that there's an embarrassment to a slave. Okay. If you chop off the hand of your friend's slave, basically we're discussing all the 4, but we're only going to talk about 2. Yet you give the lost income, the shiftoi, and the medical expenses to the master. And that slave gets fed from tzedakah. What do you see from here? I'm taking all the income, all your medical expenses, everything, and I tell you, go figure out your food on your own. Nebuch, he just lost his arm, he's in bed. He has to go knock on doors with his other arm that he has. Says Gemara, no raya, because it's talking about a situation where he gave him food. Same thing over and over, right? Now we're getting familiar with it. It says the word nizoin. Nizoin means the basics. You get the basics from tzedakah. Says Gemara lahat dafa. It's not talking about, it's talking about the extra. So Rashi sticks in over here because he's sick. He needs a little bit extra. He needs more food, whatever, to make him strong. That he went to tzedakah. It says Gemara yachi nizoin misparnis meboy. It's the wrong word. Nizoin means basics. It shouldn't say that he should go for the basics to tzedakah. It should say the basics he gets from his master. The parnasa, the extra, the additional, that he should go to tzedakah. Misparnis meboy. Elav, says Gemara, we can't say that it's about adafa. Shmamino yochol shmamino. See from here that you could tell, Rabbi Yochanan holds, you could tell your slave, work all day, I'm not giving you any money. Omar, nois and shifter refusil rabbi. Shiftei pshita. Lost income, of course, goes to the master. Why not? That's why he has a slave to produce income. Says Gemara, the medical expenses. Ask the Gemara, why should the master take the medical expenses? He needs to heal his arm. What do you mean you're taking that money? How's he going to heal his arm? Says the Gemara, beautiful. What happened was that all the doctors came together. They said it's going to take this guy 5 days of treatment. And they gave him a very, very intense dose, which is very painful and causes a lot of aggravation. And it only took 3 days to heal him. Maybe he took that extra dose and he had a lot of pain. Maybe he should benefit from that gain. That he's like a chamor. He's like a guy's donkey, cow. Any extra benefit? So you gave the cow an extra shot and it hurt him and he jumped. So what? The extra benefit goes to the master. There was an interesting shaila by Reb Zilberstein. There's a Maisa Shem Chol Yom Bayos. A guy caused a lot of damage to somebody's car. Now here in Eretz Yisrael, if you go to the shtachim, you go to the Arab villages, you can do the same job for half the price, if not less. I did it once. I didn't want to go in. You send this mumchem. They have no fear of those guys. They know everybody. They take your car. They come in. They go out. You get an Arab job back. It's gewaldig. Your fender falls off after 3 days, but it's half the price. They also they know how to. If you're missing a fender, they come into Eretz Yisrael. They take another Jewish fender and they put it on your car. So he had a shayla. He caused $2,000 worth of damage. But he knows how to go into the shtachim and get it done for $1,000. Since he took the risk of his life and he did, could he tell the guy, it cost me $2,000, pay me $2,000, and then I'll fix it? So Rav Zilshem Paskin, he could, because he's taking all the risk and everything. So he could take the initial whatever the amount is in Israel. Fine. Next, he proved it from this Gemara. The proof was from here that you could tell a guy, listen, it should typically be 5, but I want to do it a little extra and a little faster, and the master takes the profit. So over here, the owner of the car takes the profit. Tanya Omer Rebbe Lazar. We told Rabbi Meir, you know what? I guess we will just stop over here, unfortunately, but tomorrow's a shorter daf. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.